What's going on, everybody? This is Turn Down for Walt. I am joined, of course, by my co-host, Radar SSBM, and we got another spicy one for you guys today. The Melee YouTube content king of the planet, the cheese wheel himself, Mr. AsumSaus, joining us as our guest for the evening. Sauce, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we should have a pretty fun one going on. Unfortunately, AsumSaus was not able to steal his brother's camera. Is that right?
Yeah, brothers.
Yeah, so we're left with just the cheese wheel for
Unfortunately,
today.
no face reveal this time.
There is the one still. I will say we had the content panel, so that was a thing.
You can dig that up if you want to see.
But it's one of those things where like people, when Walt and I commentate like every 2 weeks or even on weekends or whatever, people will be like, "Oh, so that's what Walt looks like."
That's
And
right.
it just keeps going, right? Like you're constantly doing a face reveal to some degree if you don't use your face regularly in your videos.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's
I've shown
perpetual,
my
dude.
face like years ago. It's people are still talking about a face reveal. It's insane.
Oh,
They
I
will
forgot
for
to add the
like at
chat.
least another 5 reveals, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, the hand reveal was a big one for you too, man. I know that was huge with your
For
controller
sure.
video. That
Yep.
that got the
Hand
people
reveal.
going.
They're waiting for the rest.
Seeing you just move up the arm, right? Then you'll get the forearm next. Go all the way up to the
Yep.
elbow maybe by the end of the year.
I actually I cut this shot, but in that video I had a shot of me holding my plaque and it was like a full body shot except for my head.
That's
But
funny.
cut that.
Oh man. I forgot to add the
Funny.
chat. I feel like that's not a huge deal. We'll just leave it.
Yeah, it's fine.
But
They
yeah,
don't
so
matter. They don't matter. Come on, guys.
yeah, I will say thank you guys,
Anyway.
all of you, for tuning in to watch us kind of talk about the whole thing. Exclamation point content in the chat to do absolutely nothing because we didn't add any bot for it. I don't know. What do you guys want the bot to be? Like, should we have it linked to something? Should we have it linked to our channels? We do have some commands in here.
I do think, yeah, commands like YouTube's, like, or like, even just like Twitch's or some other kind of social media would be cool. But, yeah. So yeah, of course, I do want to say I'm joking. I'm glad that the chat is bumping as usual. Always grateful for the viewers. Both I can speak for Walt and myself there. But do we want to kick off with the kind of week in review, Walt? Talk about the weird week in Melee to
Yeah.
use, or like the last 2 weeks really, to
Yeah,
use a
so I
sauce term
alluded to
here.
this in our block last night at Xanadu, but this is actually a tweet from you, Sauce, where you kind of recapped everything weird that went on last week, and it was like, let me pull it up exactly. It was OKP gets second at TMT with Pikachu. This was last week. On Wednesday, Don't Test Me wins Xanadu with Roy. On Thursday, Akla wins Uncle Sam with Link. On Saturday, Eddie Mexico gets second at Levo with Luigi. And on Sunday, Akla wins Rollback Rumble with Young Link. And we have another one to add onto it as of yesterday at Xanadu. We had a Ganon player, no fluxes, get third place with a win over Ginger.
Yeah, I
And
saw that.
Swooper.
And
That
Swooper,
was
yeah, insane wins there.
that was insane.
Not just like a Ganon player, but like no fluxes, not really super well known Ganon player. It's not like a Nun went Ganon or something, and it's like, oh well, Nun is like really amazing. So I guess even his kind of secondary character Ganon is going to do pretty well. But like someone kind of rising from the relative unknowns and beating Ginger Swooper, just insane. Like I don't know, I'm consistently baffled by the show or the quality of
Yeah,
content.
I do want to add also, you had bracket images in this tweet also. OKP reset the bracket against S2J. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, that's insane. S2J, a top 10, arguably top 5 player, getting beaten by a Pikachu that's not Axe. That's crazy stuff.
Yeah, what else do we
We live
got
in
here?
very unprecedented times, as we all know, and that's true in more ways than one. And I was writing a script myself, and then I stopped and said, you know what? making new scripts is not the solution here. Work on the existing scripts you have. But I did want to make a little video about just kind of what it means to be a viable character in 2021, because I feel like that is the kind of topic that it feels like we have an answer to, and then every week someone is sort of challenging the answer by winning with young Link or Luigi or whatever. Luigi was second place.
Dude,
Pikachu
I was
second place,
saying,
but
I
still.
said it last night. It's like, it just makes me, it just lowers my stock as a Mario player, I think. Now that all this weird stuff's happening, I'm like, shit, now people might think that I can actually win.
Yeah, you got nothing to fall back on.
This could be worse if you played
I-
Doc.
I alternate, so it's...
Oh,
Why do you
my
play
bad.
Mario over Doc? I don't know if I've ever actually asked you that.
Wall jumps, baby. Wall jumps and good old
Respect.
honest blue collar plumbing. That's the reason.
I kind
you
of
go.
dabble in the two characters too. I prefer Mario's Nair to Doc's weird ass
I do
sex
too.
kick.
Yeah, because I just play
A
him
lot
like a
more
budget
satisfying
fox.
to get the meaty early hit than the weird late strong hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think he's also like a little cooler. Like Doc is kind of like a little lamer to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
he's
that's like,
got
you know, he
he's
doesn't have
got
the
throw
classic
kill
feel.
confirms. That's lame.
Oh,
You got
dude,
to struggle to get your
Yeah.
kills like Mario.
so I do want to show you guys this. I actually just posted it in my Discord, because I feel like thematically I should play Doc. Let me see if I can pull it up from here. The guy that's working on my controller, and I think someone actually wrote a question, or not even a question. Someone just wanted to see your controller sauce, but unfortunately we won't be able to show them with the no camera situation going on. But
My bad.
they just sent me this photo, display capture. Look at that.
Ooh,
Oh
that
my
looks so
God.
good.
And I feel
that
like I need
a,
to play Doc so I can play Mint Jacket Doc to match
that
the
is a thing of
controller.
beauty.
That does look really good.
Is that
I mean,
is that
but
a legit symphonic green?
It was
if we're-
painted like matte mint. Is there
we're showing
actually a
off
symphonic
controller,
green? That's crazy.
Two
I'm getting
beautiful
hyped about this
controllers
one.
on screen right now.
Worth mentioning, just as a quick shout out to the Frame One guys. I spoke with Greg Turbo today, and as a bit of an announcement, they are going to be taking Frame One will be taking pre-orders this month, again after quite a big hiatus. So if you were looking into getting a Frame One controller, or box style controller, rectangle controller, Frame One definitely a good option. I'm going to be doing a review on them in like 3 weeks or something. Once I basically mastered the controller or like gone to a decent level with it. But yeah, just a little PSA there. Walt, are you? Who's making the controller? Out of curiosity, I think you might have mentioned
It's
already, but
I think it's Kill Wilson. It's K Willie on Twitter. Absolute just homie, dude. Been hooking it up. The other guy that did my last controller, which unfortunately bit the dust very early, was Baseline, and that was, the cause of much controversy with people not fully knowing what's real or not in this matrix of a video game that we play. And I'll just leave it at that. But
Yeah, Baseline's controllers are quality, but they do not make you play like TAS. I can confirm.
Oh yeah, you got yours by him too. I actually when you
he
showed
did a
it in your
great job.
video, I was like, I saw the light engraving and I was like, that's Baseline for sure. And that's like
That's
really cool to
Baseline.
think about. Like you can kind of get people's like trademarks now on if you're in the controller sphere.
Yeah, it's super cool. You should you've got to get a Baseline controller too, Radar.
Yeah, join the
Complete
club. We can all have had.
I honestly, if I can get to the point where I don't need to ever touch these effing things again, I really will. Like I'm being completely serious. There are so many things using the Frame One where I'm like, oh, consistency. That's a thing. That's a thing that I can do. Like literally, I switch. Because what I've been doing is I've been doing about like an hour or so of practice on stream, and then I'll do like an hour or whatever of playing with the controller. And when I'll play with the controller, I'll up tilt except I'll F tilt. I'll do a down air except I'll forward air. I'll do all these things that basically have to come down to like C stick POD problems, or I'll jump and get vertical snapback. Like I don't need to tell AsumSaus he did a whole video on controllers like issues that make me want to like take this thing and throw it at the fucking window.
I
And like,
I feel that.
and so I could spend $300 to get some really fancy, you know, one that will last me 6 months, and then all of a sudden, right back where we started, or I could say screw this entirely. Um, yeah, Frame One seeing this amazing promotion, this could happen every week. Absolutely the truth, but
That's right.
yeah, I don't know. Controllers are freaking brutal, man. I really really I want out. I want out of this little simulation. So that's
I
all I'm
kind
gonna
of
say
had
about that.
the same feeling when I ordered my box. It was a few months before it actually
You cut
got
off.
there, but oh, did I? Let me see.
You said I kind of have, and then you kind of got a little digital there.
Oh yeah, he was saying when he
Okay.
ordered the
Is it
box.
is it fixed now? Is it good?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. When I ordered my box, I kind of had that same line of thinking, like, I can't fucking wait to just drop this piece of shit controller. But then when you're actually faced with it and you just have, you know, like 20 plus buttons sitting in front of you, you're like, oh my God, maybe I will just stick with a controller because I don't want to relearn how to play the game on this weirdo
Yeah.
rectangle.
Yeah, I remember I
That's
play
why.
tested at the Hitbox booth like a couple years ago at Genesis, and I was like, I'm pretty close friends with a couple of the guys on that team, and I was just like, dude, this is weird as fuck. Like, I have no idea. I can't even like dash dance. Like, and I feel like that's the bare minimum. It's just two keys, you know? It's like,
It's surreal
So
playing with a box.
it's one of those things where, you know, and again, I will be doing a whole video about this, and I'm grateful that I'm doing the videos because that is what's getting me through it, right? Like it's like I'm doing actual work stuff. I'm practicing for a purpose. It's not just like slowly getting better at this weirdo rectangle. But uh it it's funny because some things are very hard, but some things like it's the kind of thing where if someone were to go to my house and be like, "Oh, can I try it?" That's going to be a miserable experience. Like
Mhm.
within the first 5 minutes, you're not going to be able to do anything. But within the first 50 minutes, I was like, "Oh, okay, I can like dash dance and do some shuffled aerials." And then the next day, I did like another like 50 minutes of practice, and
Yeah.
oh, I'm like starting to get some interesting stuff. I can up B and not just die every time I try to do it. And then the next day, oh, I'm starting to be able to wave dash, and I feel like after like Greg Turbo said 3 weeks or so of like actual steady practice, you should be kind of at around 80% of your skill level.
Mhm.
I feel like I could see that for myself. And honestly, there's a whole side thing that I could talk about, and we touched a bit about this on commentary, but I know people talk about how like OP the controllers are or whatever, but I really think that like people misunderstand that you have so much muscle memory like in your brain. Like, like if you're multi-shining or something, yes, it might be easier because the buttons are laid out of a certain way. But if like you just ask some random guy on the street, like, hey, multi-shine on a box or a frame one, like they're not going to be able to do it. Whereas IBW might go towards a box and be like, hey, look, I can multi-shine on this thing. And it's like, yeah, because you know the timing of multi-shining on a controller and it's just
Yeah.
like applying a similar timing.
I don't know. I think the contrarian to that point, and I actually messaged Lod after Xanadu yesterday, or I messaged him like half an hour ago, like, but after Xanadu, because I've been hearing so many rumblings, and I do see that Hada was in the chat earlier. I think he's still in here. Like all the Peach players are saying like Box Peach is just stupid broken for some reason,
Yeah,
and
that's what I've heard too.
like I understand some fundamental things about why it would be very good, but I want to hear it from like Lod and like some of the top level Peaches just to kind of hear what their opinions are too, because I do think like
So
yeah, we talked about this in a previous Mix-Up episode too, right? But like they're like, I guess there's trade-offs, right, where some tech becomes just inherently like brain dead, and then some of it is maybe harder because it's like that you're not quite there with the muscle memory.
Yeah,
yeah, I think there's
I heard
basically
Laud. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just was gonna say there's things that like the simplest TLDR is like anything where you have to do like directional stuff, like you're angling with the control stick. That stuff's kind of hard because you only have buttons, and so you have to use like modifier buttons to change the
Yeah.
angles. I think this is like I'm looking at my camera and thinking this looks really weird. But anything that's like, oh, hey, you need to like slide your hand or like quickly touch a button or whatever, gets really, really easy. So with something like Peach, where you're doing like float cancel aerials and like certain movements with a controller, and not so much doing like up B angles, or and even actually that's probably like not a good example. More like wave dashes or like up tilts and stuff where you're kind of like, it can feel a little bit unnatural to do an up tilt where you have to press like 3 buttons to do it. Peach doesn't have her great up tilt, you know? She doesn't have like a great F tilt or any of these things, so she's not using her tilt, not using her wave dash that much because it's one of the worst wave dashes in the game relative to her top tier status. So I get the box Peach thing for sure, and I do think that there are broken elements to the controllers. I'm just saying that like when people use an example of like, oh, I used it for an hour and I was already able to do this really hard technique, I always want to ask them, but did you already know how to do that hard technique? Because then that's probably why you were able to get it so quickly.
Yeah,
So,
when you were talking about the directional inputs being a little unintuitive, that was one of the 3 things I heard about Xanadu the other day. I heard no fluxes beat Ginger. I heard Laud 1, and I heard Laud 1 without wave dashing, which kind of
he kind of did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
It did.
It's not something you see really ever. It's so ingrained. You just do it when you take a stock, you know?
It's so funny, like the like bluntness of that point out, because like yesterday I was on commentary and I was like, oh yeah, I'm noticing Lot isn't power shielding as much, and then there's something like he didn't fucking wave dash like at all, you know? Like that's so funny.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Yeah, I
a
saw that
rarity.
in the chat while we were doing it. Triff was in the chat and he's like, is Lot on box? He hasn't wave dashed once this whole game. And I was like, that's when you know you're like a Peach player and you're watching, you're like, wait a minute. Whereas when I'm seeing Peach, I'm seeing all this other weird stuff that I'm not
Yeah.
even thinking about. Like, wait a minute, hasn't wave dashed. Whereas like a Sheik or something, if they weren't wave dashing, I'd be like, what is going on? What's happening? Like, so yeah.
Do you guys know how long Laud has been on box? Or is he on frame 1?
I think he's on box.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because he wrote in chat after like
don't
first
think it's
went
been
on
that
the
long, like-
box.
Word.
I think it's like 3 months or something like that. Like it's not
3 months.
a crazy long time.
It seems like he's
Like it's a couple months for sure.
if not completely the skill level he was with his GameCube controller, pretty close. You know, beating Ginger is no small feat.
So, okay, sorry. Someone typed in exclamation point content, and I feel the need to have it actually do something now. So there we go.
What'd you make it do?
Funny.
I just had it say content.
And with spaces between each letter. Which is probably a good time to segue to our next topic, which isn't actually content. It's quickly touching on the other drama of taunting in Melee is a heinous crime against humanity. Is a Walt's wording there.
Yeah, so the thing that I
Let it
was
die.
thinking about it was, I call it ACLO, how I learned to stop worrying and love the up on the D-pad button.
Love the D-pad.
I don't know, like I guess like we're just, the well of Smash drama is running dry, and we needed to like bitch about someone taunting for some reason. I don't like you. I think you guys know where I stand on this, so it's just funny. And I see that Casper Dial's in the chat too. Shout outs to them. I don't know if did you see their tweet, Radar? It was actually of you and me.
That's
So
amazing. It's an amazing
yeah.
tweet. I love to be part of a meme because I so rarely get that chance. And this just like the duality of man tweet was very, very funny, where my tweet was something like kind of long-winded and like, oh, I think this whole taunt thing is kind of silly. And then Walt's tweet was like, the last time I taunted, my wife left me. So yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about that, man?
Oh man,
Who are you asking?
I've been a
Should
fan
we
of
ask the guest first?
Yeah.
I've been a fan of Aklo for a while. You know, he's always he's always taunted to get into people's heads. I think it's people extract so much meaning from taunting, especially in tournament. Like it's like a personal attack. Like obviously he does it to get in your head. Obviously he's trying to make you play worse, but I don't know. When you make a public tweet about someone taunting you, I don't know. It's just weird to me.
The thing that threw me off about it, and it's over now, which is, everyone has like shaken hands, firm handshakes all around, everything's fine. was that like I know Swooper made the tweet and he literally acknowledged like, yeah, I'm just being salty, and then like completely got over it and was completely fine, and then everyone else still felt so compelled to be like, no, this is crazy. Like, why would you ever taunt in this game? I don't understand this at all. Like, I don't get this. Someone tell me how to feel about this one button on this controller, which is just so completely disrespectful. Like, I don't understand it. And like, it was just like the drama was over at that point. Like, the guy who made the post was like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I'm just being salty. It's all good. And then like it just blew up into this crazy thing.
I saw
It's
people
really
calling it like toxic on Twitter, and it kind of is, but it's kind of an innocuous kind of toxic where it's just like it's just pressing a button in a game. He's not like calling you a shitter. He's not saying you're bad at the game or that, he's better than you. I don't those are just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I do agree that I really think it just comes down to like desperation, like boredom. People being like, man, we haven't had some freaking discourse in a while,
Yeah,
baby. Let's get
Leffen's
some
been pretty
discourse
quiet
today.
over there. Like we
Let's talk
gotta.
about taunts.
Exactly. Yeah. My replies have not been angry in quite a while. I need to spice things up as much as I possibly can.
It's funny because this was on a commentary block with you and me, Radar, where I forget who it was and what it might have been Xanadu the last couple weeks, but we had a taunt and I literally said, "Do you think this is an Aklo taunt or an SFAT taunt?"
Yeah. It's it's something he's become known for. But I don't think it's a huge deal, and we kind of weighed in already. It is some fun to see like the community's commitment to just talking about stuff. It's a good argument for people who maybe don't have a Twitter to get a Twitter if you want your life to get worse, because there's always something to talk about on that side of things. But I think we're good to segue into our main topic, I think. Don't you?
Yeah, exclamation point content, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about you know, of course, I think most of the people who are hanging out in this chat, and might I remind all of you guys who are in the chat right now, if you have questions, we have quite a few actually that Radar and myself have gotten in our community discords, as well as a couple people using the hashtag. I'm pretty excited about that. But if you guys have other questions that you want to ask for any of us, whether it's content related, whether it's just something for our guest or something for all of us, feel free to just message it in the chat. We'll try to take note of some of them as they come along, but we'll also just invite you to copy paste them and say it again when we get around to that segment. But we'll be taking questions throughout this evening. Yeah, let's talk about some content stuff, because I think most of the people here are probably familiar with who you are, AsumSaus. I would say at this point, with kind of GR Smash not really posting as much, you're probably the single, as in solo unit YouTube channel that is of the largest audience right now in the Melee sphere. So it's very cool to be able to like get your perspectives on things and kind of your come up and where you started and all that jazz.
It's surreal hearing that with so many top players pumping out, daily content of their streams, and
Gosh, yeah.
yeah, it's surreal hearing that I'm currently at least one of the biggest Smash channels right now.
I mean, you deserve
So
it
yeah, how
for
did you get
sure.
your start? How did that
Yeah.
happen?
I'm sorry, you two talked over each other. I couldn't hear.
You go first, Radar.
How did it all start? How did the Awesome Sauce channel, come to be? Or a better question, not the channel itself, but like your start in content period. Like kind of recall the earliest memory you remember making something and kind of like trace us back.
Oh man, the earliest time I made something. Oh, that goes way back. I remember being like 10 years old making really poorly edited YouTube poops. It'd have
True.
the classic really loud moments, but I didn't have like sophisticated editing software, so it'd mostly be like the Windows Movie Maker like cycle through the rainbow thing on a reversed clip or something. Uh I didn't really get into editing video games until I was a teenager because I didn't have anything to record my games with. Uh back then I did a lot of Dark Souls PvP videos. I think that's uh I think that's the earliest game I did content for.
And is
Yeah,
that like
you
you have a
could
whole separate channel that's Dark Souls, or?
no, actually, they're all they're all unlisted on AsumSaus. Videos from
Ooh,
like 2012. I might share them someday.
some
I've
uncut
got
gems.
I have a lot of videos just privated or unlisted on my channel that I could share one day. They're kind of, not good because I was a teenager. I didn't know what I was doing,
So did
but I
everything
think that'd
start
be interesting.
with the awesome sauce as your channel, and you just kind of like went from there and closed some stuff out, or did you have like, I know for me, like I've had my fair share of just absolute shit channels that still exist but are just kind of fallen into the void of YouTube.
uh, yeah, I have a bunch of channels too, but Awesome Sauce for me was always kind of like the channel I uploaded on. Like I have a private channel where I have all like where I comment stuff and where I actually like stuff and
Hmm.
favorite things. But Awesome Sauce to me was it was always just the channel where I could upload stuff. I didn't really interact with the channel beyond that.
And was that like a conscious decision, or did it just kind of happen and then you kept it up?
Yeah, I think it just kind of happened. I think at one point I got kind of embarrassed of the name, so I wanted to I wanted to make a new channel because Awesome Sauce. That's so fucking lame. But it ended up being the channel that I popped off with, so I have to live with it. But
I mean, you could always change your user. I mean, you're too far in now, though, I think. But you
yeah,
could have changed it
I'm too far
afterwards.
in. I
People
definitely
Yeah.
could
do
have.
it, like a lot of people do actually, especially when they get big, but it does get confusing the first couple times if you just like pop into a video and you're like, who the fuck is this guy when you get there.
Especially if it's not related in any way. Like, say you became like Mr. Sauce or something, which I'm not really recommending. That's not exactly that much cooler. But like, say you became Mr. Sauce, people would be like, "Oh, this is probably Awesome Sauce's new channel name." But if you were just like Eric or something, people would be like, "I don't know what this is." Like, so.
Yeah, even when I switched to commentated videos, I switched my profile picture to a like a higher res version of a profile picture I previously had. I was even kind of wary of doing that because I I want people to recognize that it's me. I don't want to lose
Mhm.
clicks because they see some dude in their sub box that they don't recognize.
Yeah, no cheese.
No cheese. That would be
No
catastrophic.
cheese, no views. That's what I always say. That's like that I felt the same way actually. Like when I commissioned his name's Kyler, but I can't remember what his at is on Twitter, but he's the guy that does the comic book uh
Oh,
scenes,
I've seen those around. I didn't
recreations.
know that was him.
Yeah, I hired him to do my profile picture, and then I felt the same way where I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of nervous, even though I think my first profile picture is a little dumpy. It was a drawing that my friend made of me when I was 18 in college, and he drew it on his cell phone, and I've been using it for videos even before Turn Down for Walt. I was like, there's an attachment there, and I think that there's like an imagery that goes with it. So I feel you on that.
Yeah, yours was a pretty drastic change too. Mine was kind of like just an upscaling of the image I already had, but yours is like completely different. That's a level of bravery I don't have when I'm changing my channel.
I mean, I changed my channel name twice, so
Yeah, I was gonna say you
I
kind of are a unique situation where, like, your channel name was your main content brand for a long time too.
What was it?
well, I
Radar SSBM and then Micro
Well, that's what
Mailer?
it is now. But for a while, it was Michael Radar Gaming because my original, not even my original tag, my original Twitch name was Michael Radar because my tag is Radar, and it has been since like 2013 or 2012. Um, but my first name was Michael, and Radar was taken on Twitch. I didn't think to like put it to one specific game like Radar StarCraft or Radar OOT or something, so I just did uh Michael and then Radar. And then everyone started calling me Michael Radar. And at that point I was doing speedrunning content. So I was like, I'll just do like Michael Radar Gaming. And eventually I was like, okay, I'm not even doing like a this doesn't make any sense to keep this whole Michael Radar thing. So I changed to Micro Melee, and then people started calling me Micro Melee, and I was like, hey, no, we can't keep this up. Like that's bad. So that lasted like 3 or 4 months, and then I changed it to just Radar SSBM, and some people were like, why did you change it? And I was like, hey, somehow I've messed up my branding here, and like people are calling me the name of the show, not my actual tag or person, and that's not good. And that's kind of how that landed in the way it did.
Definitely don't want people calling you micro.
Yeah,
Not
I was just
micro
gonna be like, I
anything.
love
So,
Micro Melee stuff. And I'm like, no, that's not the right way to word it, is it? So
yeah, brave man indeed. Yeah, no, I mean, so Sauce, I saw you did an AMA also. I
Mhm.
participated in it, so looking forward to hanging
Absolutely.
out at some point.
That's how
Um,
we got this going.
yeah, for sure. I did see that someone asked about kind of like your influences. I know, like, I'm sure all of us have like clear other channels that existed beforehand that were like, for me, it's like if it's a League of Legends content, I just kind of like do the old, as Ludwig called it, the yoink and twist and turn it into something for Melee. Um, Radar, like you're doing a lot of educational content, and I know that you're a big Hearthstone player, so I'm sure you get influences from there as well. Where do you fall on that whole spectrum, AsumSaus?
Lately I've been really into more educational videos with a lot of visuals attached to them. I'm really into the visual aspect of explaining things, like with did you guys see my controller video where I talk about the offset of the stick box?
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff like that really interests me, and adding sound effects. I want it to look very clear, and I want it to sound good too. I have to have subtle sound effects, and I get a lot of that from a channel called Captain Disillusion.
Yep,
He does debunking videos.
I
I'm sure you
love
can tell
him.
if you're familiar with the
Yeah.
channel. He's great. That is that's been my main influence for a few months now. Another big one is AVGN. I really like the not so much the swearing and the loudness, but I think he has a really cozy atmosphere about him. I think that comes from a lot of warm colors. Like when I was filming the controllers, I tried to have like lots of oranges and I wanted it to be really saturated,
Mm-hmm.
trying to emulate like his footage. That's another big influence of mine, just generally.
when I was watching that video, I could like I would say it was a level up visually. I felt like you were doing a lot more
Thank
work
you.
kind of each scene. Like I think if people have done their own videos, they can get an idea for like, okay, this is a shot and this
Mm-hmm.
is another shot. And then maybe within the shot, this is an effect or multiple effects. Like there's multiple little animations, or like I
Yeah.
remember first thing that comes to mind when you had this like little Roy walking transition. I don't remember where it was in the video, but it was just like Roy like walked across the frame to like move it. And I was like, man, that would probably have been a lot of work just to do that. So clearly that latest video to me looked like it took how many hours? I'm gonna guess like 100 at least. Like
Oh man, way more than 100. That video was that video was insane to make. Uh, if you guys remember my video, Is Melee a Good Game? It's almost 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
That video took me like a month of working like 6+ hours nearly every day on it. This video, which is shorter, took me like a month and a half of doing the same amount of work every day.
Isn't that
It
the
was
worst feeling when you're like, you finish it and you're like, I have sunk several days of my existence into creating this?
yes, yes. And I don't know if you guys feel this way, but
honestly is
when I work on a video that long, I kind of lose all objectivity on it. So I can't like tell if it's good anymore. So I have to convince myself that what I've been working on for a month and a half isn't shit as well after all the work. Do you guys get that feeling? I'm not sure if that's just a me thing.
Can you repeat that?
I feel
When I
like I'm able to tell.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Walt was just that like when you're working, you're so in the project for so long that you start to kind of lose the ability to tell whether it's good or bad. You're no longer able to be objective. And he's asking, like, do you experience that as well?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I just look at. I don't know. That's a tough one because I feel like I'm hyper like everyone's their own worst critic, right?
For sure.
So maybe I don't know. I guess like the
I
way
mean,
I work
that's
around that is I show my projects to a lot of people, and then like that kind of gives objectivity inherently. So even if I'm like, oh, I think this looks like shit, like one of my friends will be like, well, I think it doesn't look like shit, and I'll be like, all right, cool. So I guess we'll keep it.
So funny to
that's
me.
it.
Do you render like the small parts of it, or do you just like finish a whole video and go, "Hey, what do you think of this?"
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. It's not like I
Oh,
have
like
like a clip on my privated YouTube that is just like called outro. That was for a documentary that I shelved for a while, and I'm coming back to working on it now. I rendered that out. I finished the out. I do a lot of my outros first, actually, which is super weird. But I rendered the outro and sent it out to people like 3 months ago, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be dope. And then I just never worked on it.
I do that too. I render out small parts of the video, but just to share with friends to see if the explanations and the flow of it is good and it makes sense. I've got, let me count real quick. I have 16 videos of just individual snippets for my friends to look at to see if it's good. I don't know if you're that obsessive about it, Walt, but I go through the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. The Apex one went through many iterations. Um, so yeah, for sure. Just like
I
little
can't imagine
segments here
doing
and
a
there.
video that long.
You weren't that far off, man. You're like half an hour
Yeah,
from getting to where I think the Apex one was an hour and 15 minutes. Um,
that's insane to me.
that was the goal. I really wanted to break an hour on that video, and it turned out pretty good, which was nice. I'm glad that it didn't flop, is what I meant to say. Uh, but yeah, like that's one where the longevity really gets to you after a while because I worked on that probably from November, like end of November to March when it was released, and
My God.
it was like kind of in the background for a while, and then I talked about this actually. PPMD had me on his stream because he watched it on his stream, and then he called me after and like had like a Q&A about the video, and like it really was kind of shit timing because I started working on it, and then I was like, then 5 Days of Melee came up, and it was like, oh, I gotta do all this stuff, and I wanted to finish a video for it, and I had the Axe one that was close to done, so I was like, let me just do that one, and then with 5 Days of Melee, Samox released Metagame, and I was like, sheesh, Metagame's gonna have a segment on Apex for sure. And I've been planning this video even before I started officially working on it in like November. I was planning it for a while, just like writing, figuring out like how to link the player storylines and everything. And I was like, damn it, he's gonna do this. And I was like, I've already sunk so much time into this, I have to just like finish it at this point.
Definitely
Yeah,
worth it. I think it came out great.
it's
Thanks
funny.
a
I
bunch.
don't do that as much. I do a lot of like, I feel like whenever I talk with other people about video stuff, I always feel like I work so individually, like, and I should be doing more like not just collaborating, but also like, hey guys, watch this video. But I think I'm just very impatient. So when I feel like something is done, I'm like, we gotta just get it out,
That's a good
But there
mentality
are
to
times,
have, though.
I mean, it makes for slower everything, though, I think. And sometimes there's like I think the difference between my content and your content at least is sometimes you'll be like, oh yeah, I had like a task guy do this one little scene, and then I think to myself, man, I should get a task guy. You know what I mean? Like that would help so much. So I think like not drawing on other people to help, like not getting someone to do a little 3D scene or whatever it ends up being, like really like elevate things,
Hmm.
or even just like straight up paying people to make something, like, oh hey, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab some kind of art or something, and that would really kind of enhance it. I think I have this like stubborn, like the kind of dad who like fixes everything in his house, except it's for YouTube videos where I'm like, I can just do this, and it doesn't work. It doesn't always work, man. Like I do all my music, for example, right? Like, why
Yeah,
would you
that's a
not just
lot.
spend
That's a
money
lot.
to make the music?
That's the thing
So,
though,
Or
is like
just use Mario OSTs like every other YouTuber.
true. Yeah, you right.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that's tough though, is like
Yeah.
if you want to work with people, like the collaborative ones, projects I've done, like the docs and whatnot, where I had like B&D Games, like huge homie, JDMH, huge homie, work on some 3D stuff. Like those projects are super dope to me because it's this big collaborative effort, and I feel like I'm in kind of the director's chair when it comes to that. But everything costs money, and it turns out YouTube doesn't pay super well if you're only posting a video like every 3 months. So I don't know. It gets kind of like tough to balance because like I want to, compensate people who put in work for the videos fairly. But at the same time, it's like if a video is only going to net like X number of dollars, you got to kind of like think about where your bottom line is for that.
For sure. I'm actually curious. What's the most amount of people you've commissioned for a single video?
Uh, it was a bait versus S2J for me, and I can tell you right now, I had well, so that's the other thing about that makes like Melee really like fucking dope. Also, is so many of these people will just be like, "No, dude, I'll just do it for free," and then I'll be like, "This isn't how business works. Like, I should pay you for services rendered," and that's like just the end of that. And then, but I feel like I've been in the same situation where I've just like made trailers for people's events or like worked on videos and just been like, "No, don't worry about it." So it is cool that people are that friendly about it. Um, for a bait versus SUJ, this was the most collaborative one. I had JDMH make the 3D models in the beginning. I had Asijup. I don't know how to pronounce his tag. He used to do those like top 8 animations for those West Coast tournaments, if you remember, where it'd be like the characters on the podiums and the camera would fly through, and then like they'd all be clapping. Yeah. He did an animation for me. B&D Games did the TAS recreation of the ICG. A handful of people who did I list them as editorial assistants, and then this is kind of like an insider into Turn Down for Walt sort of video stuff, is that I think people who watch my videos assume editorial assistant means they actually edited the video, because like Ventus Official, for instance, is like someone I talk to when it comes to marketing for YouTube projects a lot, and I list him as an editorial assistant because he reads my scripts. That's like what I mean by editorial assistant.
Yeah, that is an editorial thing, yeah.
I think people assume they
mean
they mean editing the video, because I've gotten so many comments that are like, "Yo, whoever edited this, like, so sick, man," and I'm like, okay, I made the video. Like like the editorial assistants are just are like writing helpers. And then Dusty, the absolute homie, who may be in the chat also, but he does pretty much all of the cover art for documentaries on my channel. So there were a lot of people. I think it was like close to 10. It was like 8, maybe 7 people for that project.
And that's your most popular video, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think that's kind of beautiful in a way.
It's cool.
This big collaborative effort, all culminating in a video with hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, AsumSaus? What's the biggest number?
Oh,
because mine is 1.
yeah.
I feel like
I'm trying to think. I don't want to slight anyone, but I don't think I've like.
Have you cracked 1 million?
No, not yet. I don't think I've collaborated with anyone like on a video. I've asked people like for the Link video, for instance. I got a lot of help from the Link Discord. They hooked me up with all the Link oddities and weird stuff he can do, but I don't think I've ever had anyone like work on a segment of a video for me that I had on my channel. So
It's a call to
I think it's
action.
one for me too, Michael.
The
Oh,
one thing I should say
Go ahead.
is that, you know, I do all the videos myself and stuff, but I do have my friend Evan will help me with uh sometimes I'll need to like make a scene. Like I'll have like, okay, you know, you're running in, you do a dash dance and Marth does like a forward air and you dodge it and then attack. And like I could do that in like 20XX or something, but holy crap, would that be a lot of work. So oftentimes I'll just be like,
you don't just use
I
two
literally
controllers like me whenever I make projects like that.
that's what I'm saying. Like that sounds terrible. So you know, as I said it, I was like, no, actually, I do get a lot of help from my friend who, friend from high school, who will, you know, who doesn't play Melee that much. So sometimes I'll be like, we'll try to work to make like, hey, can you do this sort of technical thing that maybe you don't have that much experience? You know what? I'll just do it. You try to do the other thing. And so like, there are a couple times where we would be doing like, trying to think of stuff recently, like power shields or something, and I'd be like, man, we're both kind of bad at power shielding. How are we gonna do this? So, yeah, but
I That's funny actually. I think for my Luigi video, I was showing off the Luigi ladder where you ascend with two Luigis with their
Yeah.
up Bs getting the weak hit. I think because I wasn't really familiar with the 20XX replay system, I I'm pretty sure it was that video where I controlled a second Luigi like with my feet. Like I
I've done
held
that.
the I've
I've been
you've
there,
done that
man.
too?
Yeah, when
The
I made
the things we do.
montages, I used to control two characters with two controllers.
Can you remember like specific
just
advantage?
use 20XX, guys. I feel like it would
No,
be so much
dude.
quicker. What?
It would
No,
have.
that's
It would have
that's
been.
soft, man. We don't do that.
Oh, okay, there we go.
I was holding the analog stick up with my left toe and then pressing the B button with my right toe. Can can you remember what you were doing with
I would
your
do
feet?
so like I've had like clips when I make like cinematics, I'll do like basic ones of like the characters running at each other and it's like dramatic. So that one's easy. I can
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
hold the control sticks opposite directions or whatever. Um yeah, I gotta think about if there was a more complex one than that. It would most likely have been in one of my montages. Like if I do like a cutaway into a cinematic and then something where like I'm just like comboing the shit out of another character and I have to make it look like kind of believable. So I'll like try to DI and it just comes out horrible, or like try to catch. I guess a better example would be like if there's a cinematic I wanted to make but it was off stage, I would need to have both characters jump off and I would like time like for instance I would like double jump with Fox and then just up B straight up and then just like time the other controller to like hit the Fox as he's falling so it looks like I'm getting an edge guard for the recording of the cinematic.
Life was rough before we figured out how to
Yeah.
do 20XX recordings.
Yeah, that's why I stopped doing montages, man. It was brutal.
Brutal on the feet.
But you do them now, right?
I don't really
Yes,
make
I do them
any
now.
of them anymore, so not really.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'd
Because I'm
probably be
thinking
stuck in
definitely
my
Awesome
ways.
Sauce videos. I feel like there's so many things you know, sometimes I just want to go to bat for other creators, and Awesome Sauce is a great example where there will be scenes that like you know, he'll have like, say for the Halloween episode, he'll have like Falco will fall over and stuff, and I'm thinking like, at least this is my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you are going into the game, you're going into like developer camera mode, you're zooming in, maybe you're using like the custom green screen back codes to like have like a Falco fall over, and then you're making the Falco gray because he's dead, and some of these scenes that you're like staging are like several layers of different like captured images that I think a person sees and goes, there's Fox like, you know, doing this thing. That's just, I guess that's just from Melee. And it's like, no, like they had to actually put all this stuff together to even make it look like the way it does. So am I correct in like that's usually kind of the way you're going through it?
Yeah, it is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of rough when people kind of see certain shots as like super impressive, but they didn't take a lot of time, but they sort of ignore more intensive shots because they're so clean looking. Like in my controller video, I had this shot where I was
I
playing
love
on the
this game.
box, and I had the game like on the box while I was playing on it. I'm not sure if you guys remember that, but that shot took me like 10 fucking seconds to do. I luma keyed the box because it was just insanely dark and it was easy as hell. And then I put the gameplay behind it, and it was as easy as that. And I've gotten like uncountable comments complimenting that scene that took me like 10 seconds.
That's how it
But
is, man.
that's that that's how it is.
I think the
But
best editors
like
are like
Michael
the
was saying,
ones. Oh, go ahead.
I haven't really I haven't gotten any comments praising, the intro to that Halloween video, which did take me a lot of time.
Dude, you used Gary's mod, didn't you?
I did.
I
I
could
did
tell,
use
yeah.
Gary's mod. I had
Oh,
to
really?
figure out
Okay,
how
so
to
can you give a bit more of an explanation, like how that works?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Can you explain a bit more, like for people who aren't familiar, what Gary's mod is, like how that would work in a video?
Gary's mod is
Shit.
oh man, Gary's
It's
mod.
terrible.
I don't know how to
It's
explain Gary's mod. It's
not meant for
a
video editing. It's like,
it's definitely not meant for video editing. It's meant for like
do you know Team
it's meant
Fortress Radar?
I
So,
know what Gary's mod is. I'm saying like there's people at home or whatever that might not have the greatest idea, but I am also wondering how you would apply it for like how you're mixing them. Like it's like it's a sandbox game, isn't it? Like I've even
Gary's
used it
mod
before, but I haven't like
they have like a it's kind of like a budget blender almost, like very budget blender in that like you can do like bones and like rigging animations in 3D. With
yeah. And you can get a bunch of custom models for it. And what
yeah.
I did was I looked on the workshop page for a Falco model. Luckily there was one. I took it and then I painted this. It's very freeform, Gary's mod, and you can you can make things like flip people off and shit. You can do whatever you want with the models. So I painted a room green so I could green screen it, and then I had Falco I made him lay in like the Family Guy dead pose, like a super exaggerated thing, and then I just green screened that, this unique model that you can't just get in the game, and chroma keyed it, and that was the end of it.
see that's a great example of something where it's like someone just thinks, yeah, I don't know, I didn't think about it. Like it's not even that they're like they're like, oh, yeah, that must have been hard. They just don't think about it at all. They see it, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's a cool intro, and I'm sitting here going, fuck did he do that? Like
I
or like,
remember, dude.
oh,
I remember
know how
because
to do it.
I DM'd you, Sauce, and I was like, "You used fucking Gary's mod, didn't you?"
It's insane that you just immediately knew.
Yeah, because I was planning on trying to incorporate some into some of my videos, and I was just like, I really don't want to have to learn this all over again. Did it take you a
I
long time to do that?
It did, and then I also had to learn how to use this proprietary animation like add-on for it to make it where Falco's ghost like rises up from his dead body. I had to learn how to do that too. That took like fucking a day
Jeez.
of just nonstop watching YouTube tutorials, and it's such a simple thing too. He just rises up from his waist, and that took me like uh, I don't even know how many hours.
It's a perfect example because I saw that shot and thought that's gotta have taken a lot of time. Like, and it was like 6 seconds, but like I don't really know how he did that. And even the stuff I do know how you do, where it's like, okay, you're going in, you got the debug mode either through 20XX or like some kind of dolphin thing. You go in, you change the cameras, you get some kind of scene. Maybe you have like two controllers to control something, whatever. Maybe you're using a replay, whatever. Even learning how to do all that took me a lot of time. Like you gotta learn all the little codes. You gotta figure out like sometimes it's like you're not using the camera mode. You're using like the camera mode in Dolphin. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, where like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're
I've
actually
done that.
like that's how David Kimball, shout outs to him,
Yeah.
got the like background stuff that Leffen uses a lot, and like other people have used the he zoomed in past the character select screen. And so I started doing that with some stages where I would just go like past the stage, and I've been using that as like background stuff. But like all those things, it's not like there's just some like YouTube Melee Bible that you just read and it's like, here's how you
Yeah.
record game footage. You have to like collect all this information the best you can and try to figure it out. So
I hope
well, go
B&D
try.
Games watches some of this, because he and I have been in many a Discord call when he would do TASes for me. Because TASes are also a fickle beast, if you guys are unacquainted.
I've never tried to fuck with TASs. I stick
And-
to 20xx recordings.
They're even more of a fickle bitch if someone else is doing the task and they're sending it to you. Oh hell yeah, B&D Games, what's up, man?
Yeah, we got it right in the chat.
Yeah, so the thing is, if your settings are not completely exactly the same, and I'm talking about the exact, like, even if you have blank controller ports plugged in, like, you have to have the controllers plugged in, you have to have every single visual setting exactly the same, you have to have like everything to a T, the task just completely shits the bed. So I, like, more than once I'll just message, and you have to have the exact same version. So for instance, like, B&D Games will be like, okay, I need you to open this on Dolphin version 5, like the one where the logo's still blue.
Oh,
And
God.
I'm
Oh,
like,
no,
dude,
he's
I
not
don't
even
even know where
using
I'm gonna
Slippy?
find this, man. Like, and then I end up finding one, and it's not 5.0.321 or whatever. It's like a different decimal at the end, and that matters. So like the Abate versus S2J video, I'm like, okay, like S2J just ran off the stage 4 times, and the game's over now. Is that what was supposed to happen? And he's like, no. And I'm just like, okay. So what do I do about this?
I just imagine no, it's like, I mean, that's what I
And
thought.
then it's like
that
Discord
is
ring
what I
call
thought.
comes in. I'm like, help me, man. I don't know what I'm doing. It's like...
Yeah, even like with 20xx replay, if you want to get like, I for example was doing these green screen multi-shine things that I haven't actually used yet, but I have a couple ideas for how I'm gonna use them. And very, very basic relative to a lot of other stuff we're talking about. You just get, a character to be multi-shining, and then you go into the debug thing, you change the camera, you get a gecko code to make the background green or some other color, and you chroma key or like ultra key it out. But you need to know the frame data for how to actually input that, because at least as far as I understand how to do it, maybe there's an easier way. In the 20xx replay, you are going in frame by frame. Like if you want frame perfect multi-shines and you just can't do them yourself, like me who can't do them,
Yeah, like the cheater
with
way.
Fox.
No
Or-
shame.
Yeah. What you have to do is go like, okay, with Falco, for example, it's like 5 frames of jump squat, and then on the 6th frame, you're doing the shine. And like I had to go to that SSBM tutorials how to multi-shine video with Falco and look at the frame data and be like, with Z, advancing one at a time to make sure, and then going to the loop and being like, all right, he's fucking doing it, man. Okay, good. And then like zooming in and then switch with Fox. And like, if you want to do something else, like I don't even know, like a ledge dash or something, you need to know like, okay, you drop the ledge here for 5 frames, and then you start to angle your control, like whatever it is. Otherwise, like, and then sometimes you mess up on like the 18th frame and you're like, this whole thing again. So it's not easy. Like it really is not
Yeah.
easy. I think people overlook it.
I also
There's
want
definitely
to
a lot
add
of Z frame advancing with the 20xx replays. I know
Yeah.
that feeling.
I want to add that AsumSaus, you are a complete freak of nature, and you do so much of your editing or like composition work in Premiere. I saw that photo of all of the layers
Oh,
that you
no.
had going on there.
Not so much. I do it all.
Yeah, that is
Unfortunately.
absolutely bonkers to me. Like, as someone who was kind of like, I used After Effects the wrong way and used it as an editor for like much of my young life, where I'm like, I'm gonna make compositions in here, and it turns out that's really dumb. I was like, I don't know how you do even like the simplest animations in Premiere, because I'm just so autopiloted at this point to just be like, all right, I'm just throwing it to After Effects and we'll just do it there, because this will take me 10 seconds and I'll spend like minutes trying to understand how to do it in Premiere.
It's
See-
kind of like the box thing for me. Like it would be beneficial for me to learn After Effects, but it's kind of it's just daunting, and I don't want to fucking learn how to use another program like After Effects. I'd rather just bang my head against the wall in Premiere doing, you know, dinky animations and stuff like that. But on the day that I want to become an actual a real editor, like someone like Walt, for instance, I'll I'll have to bite the bullet and actually learn how to use After Effects.
This is a good random time. This is a thing I've wanted to ask Walt for a while, and you know, maybe this would be useful to someone else. So when you animate in After Effects, is there a way you export it to then drag into Premiere, or when
Yeah,
you're adding
baby.
animations in After
Dynamic
Yes?
linking, my guy. Come on, get with the times.
Okay, see, this is what I need to Google.
That's
like,
the
only
reason I stay with the Adobe suite, even though it is just absolute fucking highway robbery to use them, because the workflow on it, and there might be a faster workflow with like Resolve or FCP that I don't know about. The workflow is like very seamless, which is amazing, because like I'll just hop into like Premiere, right, and then, you know, if I go, I could show you guys right now on my display capture. You know, if I go into like my little editing timeline here, don't read the title of that. That's my next video. But
everybody full screen.
you know, like I'll throw it up into the timeline here. You just go right click, replace with After Effects composition, and then it just like opens a comp for you on After Effects like this, and then you just make it, and then it just automatically updates on the Premiere timeline. So any changes you make on After Effects just updates real time with Premiere, which is super convenient. Update like makes my workflow tremendously faster. The old way when I was a shitter Vegas editor was I would have to make it, and maybe this is what you do right now if you're using Resolve, right? Sometimes.
No, I use Premiere.
Okay. What I used to do.
I use Resolve really for this stuff, because for some reason, my Premiere, when I try to import long videos, is just like, sorry, bro, you don't get audio anymore, and it's like, okay. So I use Resolve for that, but everything else I use Premiere.
So maybe you do this now then, but what I used to do when I was doing compositions in Vegas and then like whatever fancy stuff in AE, I would have to export my AE timeline as like a short .mp4 or whatever, like as a file, and then just like throw that into the timeline. So this just like cuts out an extra render step.
Like, is that what you would have to do for After Effects? Like, and so good to know that that's not what you need to do. I figured you didn't, because they're connected softwares, but I just haven't looked into it. And there's so many situations where if you don't know what you're supposed to be looking up to like answer that question, like that's why it actually is nice to have people like Walt, like with the green screen thing. I remember you had something. This was
I
years
gave you
ago.
the code, yeah.
And I was like, how did you do that, by the way? I assume it's like there's probably like a green screen code, or there's some way you're not actually cutting it out.
God.
And he's like,
Dude.
no.
Okay, wait. My first videos, I did rotoscope characters, and it took days.
My God, what the
fuck? It was
fuck?
so hard. And then
man.
like you can see it because there's like really bad like lining on the zoo video that I made, which was like my first, you know, big video. The outro is like Falco doing the idle animation, and I rotoed it, and it looks really bad. So I was like, this looks so shitty that I'm just gonna loop it, because it's it's like the same thing, you know, after a set number of frames, that it is what it is. But the green screen thing, I didn't even know there was a code at first, like a gecko code for it. So what I did was
why would you? Right? Like,
yeah, so I actually got a modded stage. So my Mushroom Kingdom 1, and it might still be like this, I don't even remember, because like you can't even play on them in old Dolphins back in the day or whatever. My Mushroom Kingdom 1 was just all of the textures were repainted to like chroma green. And it was like it was a custom stage before like custom stages were a thing, and it was just like it was a final destination with just walk-offs, but you couldn't tell because the whole stage was just chroma green. And that's how I would like do it back in the day before you had the code.
That was the exact same thing I did, except
Hell yeah.
Unbeknownst to me, when I did it, the code did exist. I just had no idea it existed. So I edited all the textures on this this custom 20XX Dreamland stage to all just be chroma green, and that's how I did the chroma king for all the characters in the first few of my commentated videos. And I remember I was like, hey, this might come in handy for some other creators. So I'm not sure if you remember this, Walt. I contacted you and I offered to send you this shitty little custom stage that I made for Chroma King.
Yeah,
And you're like,
yeah. Oh my god. That was
do
like
you
years
remember that?
ago. Yeah.
Oh my god. And
That's
you're like, dude,
crazy.
there's a there's a
There's a
code
code for
for
this.
green screen.
Yeah.
No, like
Oh my gosh.
it. So PSA to the public. At least I can speak for myself. I'm pretty sure Walt also. Like, if you have a question about how we do our videos, please just ask, because I feel like don't be making like don't be rotoscoping out Falco or custom making
Oh, it
like
looks
stages
so
and stuff.
dumpy, dude.
Yes, please don't do
Hey,
that.
also big thanks to Brandon, aka Homemade Waffles. Thank you for the raid, my dude. I hope you're doing well. We're just out here talking exclamation point content for literally no value other than just getting the bot to say something. But yeah, holy shit, dude, it looks so bad. I'm trying to find the video so you guys can see it. I gotta mute it too.
Old school Azu Falco montage,
Yeah.
right?
Back in the
Yeah,
day,
I found it.
baby. And it was
So
the
it's
little
at the
outro
very
thing.
end. I don't think it looks that bad. It's just
Because I looped it. I looped it
love
over
this game.
like however many. So you can see like where the roto comes in, because like his like crotch kind of like comes out.
Moves around a little bit.
Yeah, and like the outline moves. So there's like some really bad spots. But yeah, times were tough back then, man. We were pretty down bad when we were trying to do our little editing thing.
I
The
mean,
idea
what I'm seeing,
of rotoing melee models is just driving me insane. How
it honestly sounds terrible.
how did you like not go fucking crazy doing that?
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Doing like, and then like learning stuff for like frame data and things, for instance, it was like, holy shit, why am I even like syncing time? And this is like an interesting thing, and I kind of like talking on a more serious side of this conversation, is like the marketing side of things, where it's like, I don't know, putting that much time into a video to get like 800 views felt like really, really bad. And I think this is like kind of a pretty good segue question specifically for you, AsumSaus. And I know a few people in my Discord and perhaps Radars as well were pretty interested in this, but it was kind of like the shift in kind of your tone for your channel. Because you kind of had your come up doing like the like montagey type like clip compilations that had like a lot of personality in them, and then you shifted to like on radio personality almost, where you're doing voiceovers every time. You had like the comedic aspect of everything. Like what kind of prompted that? Like, did you think it had to do with the marketing side? Was it like a performance thing, or was it just kind of something you wanted to try out?
I think I saw one of the questions you're talking about on Twitter. They phrased it as like, what made you want to change? But it wasn't really a want thing. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I think more around 2, I was demonetized. My
Oh my
main
God,
channel was
yeah.
demonetized for repetitive content.
I
The
forgot about
repetitive
that.
content being the compilations. So I tried for a few months to get the monetization back, but YouTube wasn't having it. But I didn't want to just give up on the channel, because at the time I had like 40,000 subs, I think. So I had the idea to delete all of the compilation videos and just put them on a new second channel. And then at some point I would just continue making content on my main channel, AsumSaus, just with more original content. That didn't happen for a few months later. I kind of took some time off to decide what kind of content I wanted to make. I started off making like gameplay videos with my friends, but at a certain point I just wasn't feeling it. They weren't very engaging to edit. So I got into making more educational, commentated, scripted stuff, which is the stuff I make now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where the change in tone came from. The demonetization, me moving all
So
my
this is
stuff to a different
Susan's fault,
channel.
is what you're getting at.
Yes,
So Big S is to
Susan,
blame there.
she is to blame. And you know what? The fucked up part is my second channel where all the compilation videos are, they accepted the YouTube
Of course they did.
partnership
I was just about
on
to
that
say,
channel.
of course.
Some
Archive
cruel
sauce is
irony.
monetized.
Archive
Yeah.
sauce is indeed monetized. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise. I would much rather be doing the content that I do now than compilations. So I'm glad it happened.
I
But
was just gonna say that.
it's kind of fucking stupid that channel got monetized.
You should message them
It's
and be
like-
like, "Hey, you're kind of dumb." It's like,
Demonetize my channel now.
It is one of those things where like it definitely worked out for the best because I remember thinking like, did this guy used to do like compilation stuff? And I'm not trying to like discredit people who do compilation things. I think it obviously like it's a ton of effort to find the clips and stuff, but I do think having like more original content like what both of you guys do now, I think adds more value to the scene. So
Sure.
it is cool that like uh that kind of moment, as unfortunate as it was sort of the catalyst for you to kind of break out of your cocoon and evolve into something even better, I would say. So
Mhm.
yeah.
definitely cool.
And just as a shout out, the question that you saw on Twitter, Sauce, was from Casper Dial. So just shout outs to them.
Shout
Editor for
out.
Ginger, actually. So really,
Oh,
really
really?
cool person.
Sick.
Yeah. They've been dropping some heaters, dude, with with like these clips of Ginger that are just like, I just
my
give
God,
up
they're so
or
funny, man.
something. Like that
They're
was the
so
latest
fucking
one.
funny.
I saw that
I-
one. That's hilarious.
I was so serious about that on Twitter because I think like I wouldn't say that Ginger has like a brand issue or something. I definitely would not go that far, but I think Ginger hasn't shown a side of him that's like I feel like he's very very his YouTube persona is like I am a competitor that will teach you how to play the game and I'm
Yeah.
really good at Falco and I'm really serious about the game. And obviously like that's a huge part of who he is. But when you watch those videos it's like, oh, this guy seems like he'd actually be like fun to talk to and like you know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
think if you're a
Yeah.
more personality, like it's useful to show that like, you know, he's kind of sort of laughing at himself and making typical
Mhm.
sort of bloopers. Like I think that's a useful part of your brand to kind of share with the world. So I really do hope
Yeah.
that we see something like that because I was really finding them very funny. Like
That was kind of a driving force for me too, with like changing gears, because I literally would call my friends at one point and I was just like, oh, you know, like I feel like I'm kind of in an interesting niche doing I don't think anyone was really doing like crazy. I wouldn't even go to call them like over edited, but that was definitely kind of the vibe that I was shooting for. Again, like a lot of the inspiration that I do is drawn from League of Legends, so I would watch like League over edits and be like, oh, I really want to make like just a short montage that has like really cool like cut-ins and like visuals and stuff to like kind of draw attention and like really add to the audio of it all. But I remember I would call people and just be like, this doesn't really like show who I am like as a person, and that's kind of like
Mhm.
what I want my channel to do. Like I want it to be like obviously about the game that I love and everything like that, but also to kind of show off like who I am as like a, you know, personality, if you will. I don't know if that is like a meme word at this point, but
Mhm.
yeah,
I
I don't know.
I think it's harder to grow your channel if you don't have some aspect of personality in your content as well. I think it's definitely beneficial to sh show off your personality a bit more.
Oh no.
you hear me?
Oop,
Yeah.
hello.
Sorry. Okay, it looks like my internet was being weird. Like the video feed is
No, my
hello?
can you guys hear me? Oh my
hear you.
god.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Felt like I just entered the Matrix.
What
My
happened?
I thought my computer just blue screen because everything just started freezing one after another. But it looks like I'm good now. So I'm sorry if there was like a little hiccup there.
Yeah, I guess it must have been on your end because I was like, I think the stream froze, so I was wondering if it was also a thing. But yeah, no, I think it's really good that we have kind of more personalities in the scene, and that I think is a decent segue. And I do want to talk about kind of like advice to content creators and also gear and that kind of thing. But uh, just casual of kind of Golden Guardians Melee, a big driving force who behind some of the great YouTube content that they've been putting out. GG Sam, who was also
Yeah.
on the episode 2 episodes ago, on the Golden Guardians episode, tweeted saying, question for the Melee community. Has there been an era that had peak Melee content on YouTube? Or is there still fresh content coming out that's able to hit high views? And uh my answer to that was kind of like, I think we are like in a new peak. And I guess sort of what the topic that I was thinking of is like, do you think there was a peak of Melee content before? And if not, like, what do you think the peak of Melee content looks like, or what would you like to see?
Hmm. I I think there's always been really good content in the scene for as long as I've been in the scene. You know, there was Last Stock Legends, and on the compilation side, there was GR Smash. There was the documentary when I joined the scene. But as far as the peak in amount of content and the quality of the content, I think the peak is right now. I think we have more really good content creators than we've ever had, and they're getting more views than they've ever gotten.
Yeah, that was basically my answer as well. Is that like people were mentioning, oh yeah, we have SSBM tutorials and GR Smash and all these people that are so good, and those people are good. And even people is kind of unfair. Like I know SSBM tutorials is quite a few people now, but like that, I feel like the place where we're in now, where we have, Golden Guardians channel just started like 2 months ago, and they've been doing a lot of really interesting stuff. People like Toph only went full time in the past year. Like PPMD kind of returned to content creation rather than competing, and hopefully he does. We all would love to see him competing again, but like there's so many people who like weren't even making stuff before who are now. And so I definitely think that like we're we're in a bit of a kind of content renaissance, I guess.
I'm sorry to create an interruption. It looks like we're having some visual issues. Maybe when my computer was shit in the bed a second ago. I think just for the sake of retaining the integrity of the video, at least, I'm gonna try to just restart stream real quick.
Sure.
Um,
Okay.
because it's playing back fine on my Streamlabs, but for
Yeah.
whatever reason, and like my computer's not like blowing up or anything now, but it keeps saying that my stream is running into like frame drop issues and stuff like that. So, but at the very least,
Yeah.
like B&D Game says, at least AsumSaus is not freezing on the camera, so that's always a plus. But just give me like 2 seconds, guys. We will be right back. Again, I apologize for the little visual hiccups. Hopefully, we'll be back. And hands of
Oh
mine.
my God. You edit on that thing?
Yeah, it sucks. It's garbage. It's so bad. Um, but yeah, guys, let us know if everything looks good. It looks pretty smooth on my end on just the playback, so I think we're all good. Again, thank you guys for sticking with us on this one. Apologies. This is the content creator classic where we run into way more issues than we lead on. But let's go back to the conversation, because I think we were having some good talks about kind of like, again, I know like Radar and myself, we talked with Aiden about kind of this as well. I know you mentioned Sam as who had that tweet yesterday about kind of like the content stuff that's been going on. We had a segment with Aiden in the last mix-up with the Melee report card, and one of the segments for that was Melee content, and I think all of us graded it like pretty medium for the most part, and it wasn't even like a diss to the content that's out there. I know like I for one said I think Melee content right now is probably the best it's ever been. You know, just with like the sheer volume of creators and like people doing high quality content and original content that isn't just kind of like, you know, a compilation or a stream highlight or anything like that. Again, no shots to those. I think those all have like their own valuable piece in the ecosystem. But the caveat was kind of like, I think that there's still a really, really long way for it to go.
Sauce, you still there?
Oh no, did we
Oh
lose
yeah,
him? Oh,
sorry,
there we go.
sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm here. I'm here. You were saying that we still have a long way to go, right?
I kind of think so, yeah.
I think so too. I think there are a lot of niches that aren't really being filled right now, and I think even in the areas that we do have content, we could have more people doing that kind of content as well.
Sure.
So I think the content right now is great in my opinion. We just need more of it. Like the only person doing, you know, casual, fun, two bros playing melee content right now that I know
Ludwig's.
of is Ludwig's.
Yeah.
And that's like, if you look at a game like Ultimate, for example, you have like a bajillion friggin' channels doing that same concept. And I get that Melee's a smaller game, but if you look at the success that Ludwig's has, you
Mm-hmm.
can you can definitely do that in Melee still, even with Ludwig's existing. It's a it's a small scene. Its viewer base is smaller than Ultimate's for sure, but I think we could definitely get some more channels in that area specifically. And I'm glad that B&D Games is kind of picking up
My
you know, the
man.
quirks of Melee like like I've been doing. I think that's another area where
Mm-hmm.
things can be expanded upon, and he's doing a great job. I love his stuff. As far as educational content goes, we have Mr. Radar here, Micro Melee, Mr. Micro, and SSBM tutorials.
Mr.
Um,
Micro.
Please, God.
um, I think that area is pretty good, but I think a lot of the character specific stuff is mostly written out in text. I think those could be translated into YouTube content pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the one area I think we're doing really good in right now is documentary content. I
True.
think Walt and Melee Stats have that down, and Samox too, of course.
Yeah, they're crushing it, dude.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the educational content like relatively sucks mostly just because of lack of content. Like I think it's educational content like all
Mhm.
this stuff takes time and it like there's a lot of pitfalls of like you just have the potential to be wrong and when you get wrong about something on the internet, especially about Melee, people will be like, "You fucking idiot. You don't tech and place that. You want to do a freaking jab for or something." And you're just like, "Oh god, I'm sorry."
I
Like
have like
I
fever
guess I should just
dreams
leave my channel.
about like the Reddit hive mind coming after my videos and just being like, oh, like in frame data, like this fucking guy thinks he knows how Puff Peach matchup works. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I don't, dude. I literally wake up in cold sweats like constantly when I post like anything that's moderately educational on my channel.
It's stressful. The worst is I don't even care about the Reddit bros. It's when some top player was like, "Oh, you know, you said that you should like down smash there, but down smash is like a bad option." And you're like, "I'm so sorry." Like I thought it was good. It feels good when I do it. Like so it's because the game's really like far along and developed and there's so many options and stuff that like and then even just like character stuff like being we've been doing a lot more commentary Walt and I and
Mhm.
like uh you just realize like every character has its own character specific stuff that you like may or may not know that you know if you don't know you kind of look like an idiot because like oh you don't know the Sheik thing like Sheik's been around forever it's one of the most popular characters and if but you're just like oh well I don't know I just didn't know that one Sheik thing because I'm not a Sheik main and then a bunch of Sheik I don't even know why I'm bringing up Sheik but like someone will at you being like man you didn't know this really basic thing and it's just
Mhm.
it's a lot so yeah.
Yeah, I feel like commentary and educational content are like the two things where you're really just sticking your neck out on the guillotine. Um,
Absolutely.
and like I
That's why
remember, oh,
that's
go
why I don't
ahead.
stick my neck out in that area.
I remember I said like one of the most like smooth brain melee shit ever. Like it was early on, like when I commentated like years ago, maybe. Um, and I said it, and I instantly was like, I was like, that's not right in my head, like, and I know that's not right, and now I'm gonna get just crucified by Twitch chat for it, where I was just like, I remember I said something where there was a Peach playing, and I was like, oh yeah, like of course, Peach is holding the turnip, so she can't aerial while she has the turnip because she needs to throw it. And then I was like, I'm
Oh
so
no.
stupid. Like I know how this game works. And then immediately chat was like, is this guy fucking serious? Like what the fuck? And I was just like, and they're like, get this like absolute clown off the mic. Like who is this guy? And I was just like, oh my god, like career is just ruined at this point. But yeah, it's just like bizarre. And I think that putting yourself out there like that, especially when like with stuff that you do, Radar, where like you kind of almost have to speak in absolutes because you're talking about like specific situations or like specific ways to like handle matchups or different like setups. Like you have like the kill confirm video with Falco. You like put yourself out there super hard, and that is like very honorable, and it's also scary as shit to me.
I think the problem that I have really learned, and yeah, this would be my advice to people who, if they want to make educational content, is that like there's a lot of actual things that if someone told you them, they would really help you out. Like, oh, hey, this move is good as an edge guarding tool or something. And you'd be like, oh, I didn't think of that. But you have to be really, really careful once you start to get like into saying like this is what you should use to edge guard in this situation.
Yeah.
So more and more, I'll just be like, okay, here's a good thing, but there are many things in the world. Like I try to become more and more like,
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, you're just
Like
Bob
they
Rossing it
are
at that point. Like,
well, because I used to be, I remember I did the video on crouch cancel get up attack stuff, and I did all this like research for it. Like there really wasn't a resource on this before. And so because I did a bunch of work for certain characters, I was like, well, I should kind of make this like an all around video where like I cover about a couple different options. And I was like, well, for Falcon, if he crouch cancel get up attacks, he could do like a forward smash, which in hindsight sounds very stupid because we all see like Wizrobe get that CC and then do a knee and then another knee and kill someone. And I remember Sechi was like, what are you talking about? You don't do that with Falcon at all. And so the learning point from there is just like, I don't know stuff about Falcon, I guess. At least like now I know that stuff, but you know what I mean? Like that was a gap in the knowledge. And I thought like, well, I should give some stuff for Falcon players too. These things are probably good in the future. Just don't even say it. Just don't even bother. Be like, hey, and experiment with your character to see what's good for them. Like, because it's just not worth having people be like, just spreading misinfo. So,
And that's the
how
tough part. I get that you're trying to be universal with it, but it's so hard when you only play like a couple characters. Like you're a Falco main, right?
I think we all have a little Falco in our hearts.
Maybe that's where the F smash idea came from. Crouch cancel
what?
F smash with Falco.
I'm like, it seems pretty okay with Falcon. Like, I don't know, it was killing people, but then I realized like, oh yeah, if you do knee, you can like literally react to other stuff and like kill them at 16% and shit. Like, yeah, that is better. But like, that's a great example, right? Like you're not thinking about it, and then someone who's like dedicated their life to the character is like, fuck, does he not know this? And you think, I don't know, man. I'm trying to learn how to use a green screen right now. So I think that gets a bit lost. One thing I think I had this in the doc that I think would be useful, and we're kind of like segueing into it a bit, is like advice, I guess, for people who are at home kind of wanting to get into content creation. One thing I was thinking of is gear, but before we get onto like what kind of gear you use or what kind of gear you'd recommend, what would your advice be to someone who's like, I want to be the next AsumSaus? Like, what would you say to them?
Definitely make content that you would like, because you're only gonna want to continue making content if it's enjoyable to you and if you like making it too.
Don't
That's
be a
my main
slave to
piece
the
of advice,
system.
because I was continuing to do compilations long past the time where I enjoyed them, and it kind of killed my enjoyment of Melee in general for a bit. So definitely do content that you like.
And where did you learn, like, I'm guessing the answer is that you taught yourself, but like in terms of things like video editing, maybe there's someone out there who goes, like, how do I do this stuff? Like, where did you learn to do it?
I did a lot of tinkering on my own in Premiere, and I learned a lot of things over the years just in various editing programs. And YouTube is invaluable. You can find whatever you want on YouTube. There's definitely a tutorial for whatever you're trying to do. So YouTube is your friend. Definitely consult YouTube often if you're having trouble editing.
I think the hardest part when it comes to that stuff is, especially like early on, like you don't even know what you're supposed to search. Like, you know, like conceptually what you want. For instance, like if I'm like, oh, I want those like really cringy Call of Duty intros where the text like spazzes out and like pulses to the music and does all this crazy shit. Um, but how am I supposed to Google that? Like, am I supposed to say like spinny text like pulsating with
Yeah.
music, like having like a stroke the entire time? Like, there's so many concepts I remember like when I was learning for me, where I was like, I like visually I know what I want it to do, but I have no idea what like sequence of words I need to put together in order to like find any type of reference to this.
Man,
I realize.
that's a really tough question to answer. I guess the advice I can give there is improve your Googling skills.
Get good.
Really, I think it's try to message someone who is doing the stuff that you like, and like,
Mhm.
just because more and more people are available. I was thinking this while we were talking about it, but we mentioned the whole rotoscoping thing, and I realized like a lot of people probably don't even know what rotoscoping means. Like when Walt was talking about rotoscoping Falco, that means he was going frame by frame, like cutting around the edges of Falco rather than using like green screen effects. And so that's why we were all like, "Oh my God, that's so hard," is because a 60 FPS video or a 30 FPS video means like in a single second he's going through 30 frames. And so even
Yeah.
5 seconds is like tons and tons of images, like hundreds of images. So it's insane that you did that for the end of the video too. Like
Yeah,
it
that's
just
right.
seems like,
All for the outro screen, baby. For that
honestly.
meaty YouTube algorithm.
One thing I'm also curious about asking you guys, because when I think about YouTube content creators, I feel like all three of us, what we have in common is like less frequent uploads, longer uploads, videos that take 40 to 1,000 hours rather than daily uploads, like what Toph called the Ludwig YouTube meta. Um, what do you feel? I guess like a question would be about, you know, do we need like should we be having more of that maybe in the scene? And also like what do you think are the pros and cons, I guess, between both approaches?
You want to take it?
Personally, I think we have enough daily stream highlight content, and that's not a slight to anyone. They're all on their grind. They're all getting good views on them. But I think something we need more of in the scene is more thought out content. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying before, where we need more content in general. But I think the scene would really benefit from more long form content, more content that's more heavily edited, that's scripted, as opposed to the daily uploads, the Ludwig meta, because
Mhm.
those are good. They're daily entertainment. It keeps the fans updated, and it's just generally fun content. But it's not really the kind of content that gets people into the game. Like no one's gonna watch a stream highlight of some random guy and think, "Oh man, this game looks cool."
The
Or
old marketing
it's
funnel.
yeah.
Yeah, to drop some YouTube knowledge on you guys, which I mean, you guys may already be familiar on this. I've been reading a few case studies about like upload frequency, which I think is kind of the core of some of that question radar. And it turns out it just doesn't matter at all. Like whether you, I mean, like yeah, if you take a year off, like the JonTron style, then like yeah, you might have people fall off. But the thing is, it's kind of like subscribers as a metric on YouTube also don't really matter. that much versus like actual engagement on the content itself, vis-a-vis like likes, dislikes, and shares and everything like that. um so I've read like multiple studies where people have pulled channels of varying sizes, and there are some channels that post once every 9 hours. Like they have like multiple videos a day. There are some that post daily, there's some that post weekly, there's some that post every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, etc. And it's like their overall like performance metric remains the same. It's just kind of like the key differentiator, of course, is just like if the content is actually like good or not, which is obviously subjective to certain people. But I think like it was Ludwig who did say this at one point, where it's just like if you make good content, like people will notice eventually. So
I also think there's something worth considering that I felt like I really benefited from, and I would be fairly confident saying you guys benefited from as well, is that like if you make content that is very well produced, edited, production value is, it's a video that took hundreds of hours rather than, 3 hours, in a scene where like AsumSaus already said, a lot of people are making like daily stream highlight videos. That will separate you from the crowd, and the benefit of that is like early on when I was making videos, I remember thinking like, why should people care what I think because I am a random person? Like, why would I be the one teaching the melee and not a PPMD or something who's doing stream highlights? And the answer to that question to me was, well, when other people make videos, it's like, hey guys, what's up? It's Radar here. I'm going to be showing you guys this thing, and it's like 20 minutes long, and I'll do that in 3 minutes, and it'll be edited and really tight and good, and hopefully that'll attract people. And I think there's this feeling of like, oh, how can I break out into this kind of space? And most of the people that like in the scene aren't doing like really, really high production content like Walter AsumSaus. And I think that's why you guys are successful, is because you are filling that kind of niche. And now you're both established. Like now people are like, well, of course, Walt's content is good because he's Walt. But at one point, like Walt's content was good because because it was good. But do you get what I mean? Like,
oh, I mean,
you guys
yes. So especially
Mhm.
in Melee, like where it is like cutthroat to shit, like I think you need, not necessarily need, but it certainly helps to have something as a differentiator. Because it's like, for me, like I provide no intrinsic value to the scene because I am bad at the game. You know what I mean? And like, I think
I
someone
don't think
tweeted
that's
this.
true.
Well, but I'm
Uh,
saying like at the like when I was a 0 subscriber
when you
channel,
started.
it's like I
oh,
like
okay.
if you're not good at the game, people will not notice you. So it's like you find a different way to stand out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that was kind of like, yeah, there's a rationale behind that, where it's kind of like, okay, well, giving them a reason to be like, okay, yeah, maybe this guy does know what he's talking about, or maybe this guy is interesting enough such that like we can listen to him and he can become a personality or whatever, or they're able to like establish themselves is the word that Radar used. But like when you're the 0 viewer Andy right at the beginning, like you don't, like you kind of need, or again would certainly help to have some type of uniqueness to your brand to like really allow you to stand out, and then be like, okay, well, this guy is bad at the video game, but he's good at talking good. So that's something, at least.
I also think that like it what we've heard from both of you is your videos take a crap load of time, like a ridiculous amount of time. Even hearing that AsumSaus's videos like take as long as they do doesn't shock me, but I was thinking like, yeah, like how many, like hearing that you work like six hours a day for a month is like, damn, that's a ridiculous amount of time. And I think a lot of people who want to get into content, they think to themselves like, when they're in a situation where like, oh man, I have to do this thing, but it's going to take me like 4 hours to do, they just go, oh well, that's just not worth doing. I'll just do like the easy version. And like to some degree there is value in recognizing what's worth putting time into and what isn't. And there is a whole other separate conversation about like the YouTube like monetization system doesn't really reward that time. But I also think that like both of you guys, your channels are popular because like you're the only channels where you're getting this like really high production value, and it's because like you're going into fucking Gary's mod and learning, finding some fucking
I mean,
Falco.
I'd lump you into that group too, man. Like, don't sell yourself short, you know?
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure. But that's what I'm trying to say is like even I like but even hearing what you guys are saying, it's like a reminder to me of like, okay, there are times where I've been like, man, should I really put like 4 hours into this like 5 second clip or something? But you know, that is like those things start to add up and you get different kind of level of quality. So I think that's I sometimes I hear people say like, well, I just don't want to have to do that. And it's like you don't have to, but that effort like is noticed, even if it's from a total like random person. So yeah, that's my little rant.
Thank you for coming
Should
to
we
my
get
radar, my micro talk.
exactly? Should we get to ask the mix-up question since we're kind of around the 2 hour
Yeah, we're
mark?
kind of like just doing some Q&A stuff anyway, so we can throw some stuff in there. You want to kick
Right.
some discussion off from your Discord?
We do have the thoughts on the. Do you want to do like question C? Because we already do the other two ones?
Let me pull this back up because my computer blew up.
We'll do a Cypher's question from the Beyond the Smash Mountain podcast, which you guys should all check out. Cypher asked, to whoever wants to answer, what is something you like to do when you feel like throwing the YouTube hustle away? When you want to burn it all down and move on, is there something you like to watch, consume, a person you talk to, etc.? Let's get our guests to start with an answer, if you have one.
Hmm. Well, I've never really wanted to like stop YouTube or like burn down my channel or anything. But something I like to do when I'm not really feeling inspired is going back like an hour ago is watch some videos I like on YouTube, get some inspiration. So that's either, Captain Disillusion for me or AVGN or Vsauce or channels like that. You can also just chill out and play some video games and, if not make content about Melee, maybe relax and play some Melee, maybe mess around and look up some weird stuff about Melee in my case and get some ideas for content. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I do.
As a question to that question, real quick, are you full time on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm full time.
Damn, respect the hustle, my guy. Sub to
Yeah, I
AsumSaus.
appreciate it.
That must be
Absolutely.
stressful. Um, I guess yeah, my own opinion on the throwing the thing away. I don't necessarily think to myself about getting rid of my channel or something, but there are feelings of like, man, this sometimes doesn't feel worth it, or like it's so much effort. Do you think like the consuming other content, or like specifically, I find it kind of fun when you actually like learn a new skill. So, using that Gary's mod as an example, as silly as it is, like you learn how to do some stuff in Gary's mod, and then you think, oh man, I can't wait to like do this in a video somehow. Like I have some cool ideas. Like when I learned how to green screen the Melee stuff, um, which I've known about for a while, but I was thinking like, how could I do that in some videos? That can kind of get the juices flowing and get you more interested, and then you sort of have that like itch that I guess you want to scratch in terms of making content. I don't know if you'd agree with that, Walt.
I
Got your
do.
own answer?
Yeah, the amount of times that I've sat down and been like, damn, I should have been a fucking cooking channel, uh, are numerous. Uh, I still have the cooking channel. It's Walton Pepper, by the way.
No way.
So,
I gotta check this out.
I don't have YouTube videos. I have Instagram though.
Okay.
Um, but I've realized everything that I make on that Instagram profile is brown, like the color, because I make like bread and cookies and fried rice. Like,
Right, right.
um,
All good things, though.
yeah, I think
I'm
I
sure
like,
it's
again,
delicious.
the like verbiage of like, burn it all down and move on. I don't totally jive with, but kind of like the thought has crossed my mind of like I wonder how things could have been, and that's not to say that like the ship has sailed, I think, for any of us, but I wonder how different things would be if I gave the same effort that I give Turn Down for Walt to uh something that's like less niched and perhaps like a little less under a critical eye as the hardcore gamers of this world are. But it crosses my mind a lot. So I think if there was something, not necessarily if I wanted to like quit YouTube because this is like a side gig for me, but like if I wanted to really change gears, I think for me, I would look into like I've always really wanted to get into like travel vlogs. I've done travel videos on my personal Instagram for my friends and stuff like that. Uh, if my friend Kyler, my old college roommate, hears this, he's gonna start giving me shit because I was supposed to make his honeymoon video and I still haven't done that yet. But we'll get to it eventually. It's only been a year. It's fine. Um, but like travel stuff, like cooking, is something I'm really passionate about. I think just like film in general would be like very cool, and I think the benefit of doing it something like super niched, going back to kind of what Radar said of like ways to make yourself stand out in the content, is I think I draw a lot from my other interests. So like I take a lot of like film theory and like my interest in like being critical of media in general and apply that to something like as granular as Melee. Do you agree with that, dog? Oh my god.
Wait, what?
My my dog just barked really loud. I didn't know if my mic picked it up.
It didn't.
She
Incredible.
just made like a very loud noise. Like right when I finished that sentence.
I wanted to piggyback off of something that Michael said about learning a new skill that
Mhm.
I realized I did recently. I was feeling really burned out on playing and watching Melee, let alone make content about it for a while after my cheating in competitive Melee video.
Mhm.
But something that got me really excited again was being able to use a camera and being able
Yep.
to interact with things on my own and touch the controllers and show them off and having to do a bunch of cool camera angles that really reignited the flame for me. So I definitely see where Radar's coming from when he says learning new skills is important.
Hey man, I literally picked up one of
Let's
these yesterday.
go, Sony gang.
Yeah,
Oh,
Sony Alpha 6100. So I'm gonna be doing more. Honestly, like when I worked in university, I used to work at the campus newspaper, and I did like production stuff, and we would do like videos and have like whole elaborate things, and that's an element that was sort of missing from my YouTube. Same with like the face stuff. Like for a while, none of my videos had my face just because I felt like it didn't really fit, but also because
mhm.
I didn't really have a good camera. So that'll be interesting, and it kind of leads to one of our maybe one of our final questions, which is thoughts on the future of Melee content once in-person events reopen. I know for myself, I was actually just talking about this on Twitter today. Ryobeat tweeted about uh, certain regions having like good food versus others, and Zane, aka Pengu, which I always find is so funny that it stands for Elemental Penguin, but that's a whole
Yeah.
other thing.
Does it
Um,
really?
Yeah.
it does.
That's his Instagram
Elemental
too.
Penguin. Such a fun username. But yeah, they were talking about food in areas, and I was thinking, man, it'd be so cool to have like a series that I do where I get smashers to like go to a restaurant, like a cool restaurant in an area, like go to a tournament and then be like, where's like the coolest restaurant in this city, and then go there and like maybe do like an interview or have like some more like food Melee content. And
Yeah, yeah.
so
Hungry as
that's like I
fuck.
think there's so many content opportunities with the future of in-person events, and I'm curious what ideas you guys have, if any, or things you're looking forward to.
Are you an event goer, AsumSaus? Or will you be?
Um, the last major I went to was Genesis 4. I haven't been
Hell
to
yeah.
anything else since. Were you there too?
No.
Oh. But before COVID and the pandemic, I was thinking of going to SmashCon because I think that's definitely the tournament I would want to go at. I think I don't know. I just like the atmosphere and all the Smash games together. You normally have everyone there. That was a tournament that I would have liked to have gone to.
It was
But
a lot of fun.
besides that, no, I haven't been to a tournament since Genesis 4.
We got to get you out there, man.
For real. As soon as in-person events continue, I'm gonna go to some super major.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to do stuff. I think there's so many well, yeah, do you have any like specific video ideas? I know both of you and I have talked about like in-person video stuff that we wanted to do. So, I don't know how much
Yeah,
more to share.
I have had a content idea for no fewer than 3 years, and I'm not telling anyone about it because I don't want BTS to snatch it up because it's that absolute fire. Um, but I've been wanting to do it and like figuring out logistics. It has to be in person for something like that. It's kind of the extent. I'll tell you guys not on stream when we're done. But I think like for me, the thing that makes, of course, like just having in-person events just creates like inherent storylines again, which is already really interesting, and it kind of lends itself to more content naturally for people who like to cover events and do all that stuff. It helps with the ecosystem for Radar. I know you said you wanted to do like interview some type things. Zane doing Ipengu doing that kind of stuff as well. Um, I like it from the perspective of I can use my film camera to get like 4K footage. So like and like it doesn't really matter I think from a viewer perspective, but again, like kind of drawing back to ways to make yourself stand out, and that one of those ways being production value. To me, for an example, the Axe video I think was really really good for the fact that I had live footage, interview footage
I
with
agree.
Axe, as opposed to it being like kind of like a
Mhm.
medium like Discord video call where like the same content of the conversation is still there, but the visual isn't as strong. I think just having like that level of professionalism really set it apart, and that's like what I'm excited about to go back to because I've been planning like a really really big kind of like documentary feel good piece, but I don't want to waste the visuals on video calls if I can avoid it. Like I really want to get those things in person, get like really nice compositions, break the drone out maybe and like fly that around the venue.
You I
Like
forgot about that.
yeah, I'm definitely going to illegally fly that in a lot of venues. Don't tell the government, but yeah, I think there's a lot of like really cool opportunity for everyone, in general, and it just kind of expands and builds on itself in this ecosystem of melee and content as a whole. So it's really exciting.
If you guys saw, I turned around and grabbed something. I bought this way back. I'm trying to think when it was. It was like right as the pandemic kind of had started. And this is a multiple XLR input audio recorder. So you would have like, if you wanted to have couple mics, you do like an kind of interview with people at the venue. That was something I was planning on doing, and then for a variety of reasons I couldn't do it. But I literally I got that, and I think the pandemic started shortly afterwards. So that is definitely something that when events come back, I'm
Hmm.
gonna have like a whole idea for like going there, getting interviews done, getting getting things a little bit more in person, like Walt's saying, and sounds like a lot of fun. It also is hard to compete too. Like you're like there's so many videographers and stuff that exist in esports that are filming mini documentaries, and you think, oh geez, I hope my crappy camera and audio and stuff is good enough. But that's definitely something that I want to try.
Yeah, I can tell you putting my camera next to Cloud9 Cassidy's like absolutely like
That's
Mondo
pretty
Chad like 200 millimeter lens that's probably thousands of dollars. I was like, I feel like a child next to you, and that will remain to be the feeling for the rest of my life. But
That is literally who I was thinking of when I was saying like, man, imagine I make some freaking restaurant series and then we got like that guy out there following Mango around. So Yeah.
You guys are. I don't really have any plans to do content of my own like you guys do, but something I really miss that isn't really possible with the pandemic is content that's more focused on individual players, less so about events, but more about personalities. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the Nun documentary that
Hmm.
came out a few years ago.
Yes.
I, I thought that was great, and I really liked. There's this video of Plup going around New York just fighting PR players just for fun. I thought that was a great video too. I
I
really
just had a
liked
meeting with
the.
someone about that because we were
It's a
working on
great
something
video.
similar. So
Oh, are you?
yeah,
That's
that's kind of like
exciting.
a little low key, but
Oh, okay. I content like Mango training with a UFC fighter, I think it was. I really
yeah.
enjoy that too. And all this stuff that sort of shows off the personality of the players outside of the game, I really enjoy. And I'm excited to see stuff like that come back with restrictions being eased and the
Hmm.
epidemic kind of going away.
Hey, last thing I want to add that's kind of tangential to this too. I was messaging Wheat last week. We were just kind of DMing on Twitter back and forth, and he reminded me of this. I think it was Junebug that suggested something along these lines. And we're going to extend the invitation to all of you guys here, of course. And this will be Awesome Sauce's re-inauguration into coming into in-person things. Um, we had came up with an idea of doing like a content creators like camp out, like Smash Camp,
Oh,
but
that's
like
funny.
for like, you know, us and Melee Stats and Junebug and all the people who like Alston Melee and all them too.
Oh, that sounds
Um
rad.
That does
and
sound good.
we like me and Wheat were like we should absolutely do this, like whether it's like just a weekend where we get like an Airbnb somewhere and like we all meet up and then like figure out if we can all do like collaborative content together or something like that. um but we should absolutely do this, I think.
That
You know,
sounds fantastic.
this is such a silly thing to think, but I sleep talk a lot. And I often think about like if I go to events and I have to like share a room with someone, I'm just like, man, by the end they're gonna have like because I like sleep talk. I will sleep walk, like I'll get up or like do
Dude,
something.
I
Like
do too.
Oh, really?
We could be in the same
it
room
is
together then. We could just sleepwalk against
that's
each
what I'm
other.
saying. Like there I remember like I went on a trip with my friends and we went somewhere and I was like, there's something in this room, dude. Like there's something and my friend was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I
Oh my
swear
God.
God, and like I like stand up, and then he's like, Michael, I think you're like sleep talking, and I'm like, no, 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 I think you're right. I went back to bed, and it's like, oh God, like those kind of things. Most of them with my girlfriend, where she'll just be like we're doing whatever. So it's always something where I'm like, maybe I just get my own room or something. But
Dude,
with that kind of event, I'm sure.
I have a thing because I sleepwalk and sleep talk occasionally also, and I'll have like night terrors, which are not fun. But I do a thing where I sleepwalk and I hide things from myself.
Oh
So
my God, what?
so I'll wake
What?
up at like 6 to go to work the next day, and like my wallet and keys won't be like where I leave them, and I'm like, motherfucker, and it's like a battle against my sleep self. So now I've caught on to my, like, I sound like an absolute psychotic freak when I'm saying this, I know that, but now I know like all of my sleep self's hiding spots where I'm just like, you thought you could fucking pull the wool over my eyes, but not today. And I'll just like see that my wallet's not on my desk or whatever, and then just walk over to my like sock drawer and be like, "Yeah, you thought, bitch," and then just open it up and go to work. But
I
That's
wish I could.
insane.
I wish I could share this sleepwalking experience with you
It's
guys.
not,
Now
you
I feel
don't,
left
you don't.
out.
no,
One
it's
time
not
I
cool.
left my parents' door open, their front door. I went downstairs, opened the door, did some other, went back to bed, and my mom was like, "Who the fuck just left the door open?" Like I went downstairs and then just our front door was open, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know who did that. Like, what? That's so fucking weird. Did someone break into the house?" And like, then I realized it was me. So,
It's me
and
that's got
like,
me.
yeah, it's not good. But with that, I think we're probably good to wrap up. We went a little longer than I think we expected, as we often do. But unless there's anything that I'm forgetting about, Walt, Should we do kind of closing words or what?
I think yeah, Sauce, if you have any, shout outs, plugs you want to do, a thing that I would like to ask you to consider while you're answering this question. This is of course an invitation extended to all of our guests on the show, but you will get to decide who we will be rating at the conclusion of this stream. So think that over the next couple of minutes, and if you have any, final thanks and words you want to give, now would be a great time.
Shout out to all my patrons for supporting me. Shout out to all my subs, and shout out to anyone who watches my videos. And thank you two for having me on. I had a great time.
Of course,
thank you for coming on. It's great to have you, man.
Yeah, and for everyone in chat, !guest. Obviously, I'm assuming all of you boys and girls know who AsumSaus is, but if you need a link to his YouTube channel, !guest in the chat, and the bot should be able to direct you that way. Thank you very much, Ventus Official, for hooking it up on that, for typing in where many's fingers would not work. Yeah, and with that, think about who you want to raid, and we will get to it. Closing thoughts for us, of course, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, it's an absolute treat to be able to share these conversations and experiences with you guys. I had a lot of fun. I know AsumSaus, you and I have talked for a while about like doing some type of thing together, so hopefully this is the first step in a very fruitful. Yeah, we'll finish something eventually. But yeah, it's always great to talk to you, man. I had a lot of fun. You're great. Your channel's dope. Everyone should absolutely be subscribed to you if they're not already. And I know I, for one, can't wait to see what you're putting out there next.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely.
Is it about that time where I say who I want to raid?
I don't want to put you under the gun, so we're trying to stall for as long as you can. But...
All right. Let's raid Toph.
All right.
I was thinking that would be a good pick. He just started streaming earlier. Anything you want to plug yourself before, as we're closing out? Anything that, kind of anywhere else that people, obviously we know about your YouTube channel, but maybe somewhere else that you're active on or something like that?
Only other thing I'm active on is Twitter. Please follow me on Twitter.
I gotta ask, do you have a TikTok? Because I saw you had one, but you didn't have any posts.
I do have a TikTok, but I don't post anything on it.
That's right, baby.
It's
Be
hard
strong.
enough for me to keep up with YouTube. I don't know if I could manage a TikTok too. I'll leave that to Zets.
Yeah, Zets is crushing it, man.
He is
absolutely
really
crushing it. Yeah, he fell in, like, again, the whole thing you mentioned, Sauce, about like filling like different holes in content. TikTok is
he's doing a
one.
great job.
Yeah, so he's doing a good job for sure. All right, guys, we're gonna get started with the raid for Toph. It should be coming up right. Oh, something went wrong. What do you mean something went wrong? Come on, I'm trying to. Can I do /raid? Does that work? How do I do this? Raid Toph BBQ. There we go. Cool. Well, guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Mix-Up. We will be back at some point. Things are going to get, like, actually pretty freaking busy for me in the next couple weeks. I hope we can go again in 2 weeks, but we'll kind of have to play it by ear and see what happens. Radar, as always, excellent co-hosting with you. Love having these conversations. Thanks again for watching. We're gonna tune into Toph's stream, drop a, I don't know, do we have an official Mix-Up raid or something like that? Like, what do we say for these?
You just got mixed.
You just got mixed up, bitch.
Like that. Just say that, guys. Just say you just got mixed up, Toph.
Oh my gosh.
That's
all right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. We will see you very soon for the Mix-Up, and of course, again, thank you to AsumSaus for joining us. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you soon.